The merits of commercial paper are as follows. The first one is commercial paper. See, we usually call commercial paper as CP. If a firm is not in a position to redeem, please understand, if the firm does not have the position to redeem means again to go for it, is known as share capital. The capital of a company is divided into small units called shares. Interest for preference shareholder and the equity shareholder, you give the dividends. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Abhilash Chandra from the Department of Business Studies in Vidyashram Pure College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to the next session of Sources of Business Finance. In this, we're going to learn about commercial paper. What exactly commercial paper is. Now, I told you that the commercial papers here is referred to a document or an instrument. Now, commercial paper emerged as a source of short-term finance. Please, you need to understand that it is not a long-term finance, it is a short-term finance in our country in the early 90s. And when I go with this, you need to understand this early 90s is a concept where India got its LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. That is the year 1991 when India got liberalized, privatized and globalized. Commercial paper is an unsecured, see, it is not a secured promissory note, it is unsecured promissory note. When I say promissory note, you are supposed to know that is there is a binding with two of the parties, issued by a firm to raise fund for a short period. It is for what? Short period. Now I told you that commercial paper is for short-term finance and it is for short period, varying from 90 days to 364 days. That means you have 3 months to 1 year. That is what the commercial paper validity is. That means here commercial paper emerged. It actually emerged in which year? That is the 90s. Source of short-term finance in our country in the early 90s. Commercial paper is an unsecured. It is not secured. It is unsecured, but it is a promissory note issued by a firm to raise fund for the short period varying from 90 days to 364 days. That is what commercial paper is all about. So I'll give you the merits as well as the demerits. Here the merits are, the merits of commercial paper are as follows. The first one is commercial paper. See, we usually call commercial paper as CP. Okay, commercial paper is sold on an unsecured basis and does not contain any respective conditions. That is, as it is a freely transferable. It is what? It is freely transferable. It is not like the other kind of a thing. It is freely transferable instrument. It has high liquidity. That means whenever you want, that is after 90 days to 364 days, you can actually make that into cash. That is what it is called as. It has high liquidity. And here you need to understand that before 90 days, can you do it? No, you cannot do it. It is only like after 90 days only you can start with it. It provides more funds compared to other source. Generally, the cost of CP to the issuing firm is lower than the cost of commercial bank loan. See, this is what it is. So I told you what we call that as CP. We call it as commercial paper is called as what? CP. CP. To the what exactly happens here is the issuing firm is lower than the cost of commercial bank. That means what? It is very, very important to know that commercial paper is very, very cheaper than the commercial bank. And a commercial paper provides a continuous source. You need to understand this, a continuous source of fund. It is a short-term fund. For all your working capital, you need funds, so commercial paper is the best option. This is because maturity can be tailored to suit the requirement of the issuing firm. So whenever you want to actually alter it, you can alter it. The thing is, commercial paper is highly liquidity is that, so you can alter it whenever you really want it. And maturing commercial paper can be repaid by selling new commercial paper. See, this is the beauty of commercial paper. If you really want to have the maturity of it, you can actually alter it with a new commercial paper as well. So commercial company, that is the companies, can park their excess fund in commercial paper, thereby earning some good return on the same. So they can actually earn a very good return on the same. That is how the merits of commercial paper is all about. Let's check the limitations of commercial paper. Now here in the commercial paper, the limitations are only financial sound and highly rated firms can raise money through commercial paper, because public will get to know who these people are. New companies, they cannot raise. The reason is the people or the bank or the financial institution, nobody knows which company, what exactly it is. New and moderately rated firms are not in a position to raise fund by this method. That is the first one. The size of money that can be raised through commercial paper is limited to the excess liquidity available within the suppliers of the fund at a particular time. So here what happens is, if a company is gigantic and the company has made a name in the market, then what happens, it is very easy for them to raise fund through commercial paper. Though commercial paper, they focus on the short-term funding, but here what happens is, any company who need any short-term funding for working capital, they go with so many instruments. Now in that, one of them which is cheaper than the commercial bank is the commercial paper. So what usually they do is, it's a highly liquidated promissory note, and that too unsecured promissory note. Here what happens is, the company which are gigantic, they use commercial paper only because of high liquidity as well as a lower cost price for the commercial papers. But if they want to convert it to the maturity level, so what they are supposed to do is, they need to buy new commercial paper. So this cannot happen with a new company or a company which is a moderate level of funding will happen. Commercial paper is an impersonal method of financing. As such, if a firm is not in a position to redeem, please understand, if the firm does not have the position to redeem means again to go for it, its paper due to financial difficulties, extending the maturity of CP is not possible. You cannot extend the CP. Earlier in the merit, I told you that you can extend the CP, but what exactly you are supposed to do is, you need to buy new CP. So here what happens is, if they have difficulties itself in the funding, what happens is, they cannot go with extension, or that will be invalid. So this is what the limitations of commercial paper. Let's go with the next topic, that is issues of share. Now you need to know issue of share. There are three things. One is equity share, preference share, and debenture. Let's check what exactly this issue of share is. The capital obtained by issue of share is known as share capital. The capital obtained, that is the money obtained by issuing of shares, is known as share capital. The capital of a company is divided into small units called shares. A small unit. Each share has its nominal value. Say I have given you an example. A company can issue 1 lakh shares of ₹10 each. Now that means what? We have issued, say, 1 lakh shares at ₹10. That means what is the total value? The total value is, say, 10 lakh rupees. 10 lakh rupees. So this is what the total value was. So a capital obtained by issue of share is known as share capital. So this 10 lakh rupees is that is called your share capital. And how much you have issued? You have issued 1 lakh shares. You have issued how many shares? 1 lakh shares. At what price? That is, for one share it is how much? 10 rupees. That is for one share. It is how much? 10 rupees. So what is this 10 lakh rupees? 10 lakh rupees is called as total value, that is the share capital. So issue of shares, we have three groups, that is equity share, preference share and debentures. I'll be explaining you more about equity, preference and debentures in the next sessions. And you are supposed to know this, that these are the things which are very, very important, because equity shares, whenever I talk, it's all about the ownership share, that is whoever buys the equity share, they become the owner. They become the owner of a company. But literally, can they manage it? No, only the board of directors are able to manage the company. This equity shareholders have a special right, that is called, they can go for voting. They can go for what? Voting. When I talk more about the preference share, yes, they have a preference over equity. They have a preference over equity. Whenever you are supposed to give the dividends and the interest, then what is that you are supposed to do? For debentures, you give the interest. For preference shareholder and the equity shareholder, you give the dividends. What happens is, whenever you make a profit or a loss, right, equity shareholder, there is a possibility of getting money or not getting money. If and only if the preference shareholders get the money, if the money is remained in the account, only then it goes to the equity shareholder. That is what the preference shareholders have. Debentures is all about the people who have given loan to the company, and they are the debenture holders. Whether the company makes a profit or a loss, the debenture holders should get the money. But what happens here is, the interest rate what they get is very less comparatively to the interest rate what the dividend is given to the preference shareholder and equity shareholder. But here what happens is, the preference shareholder will have a equal kind of distribution of the interest rate as the dividend rate, but equity shareholder will have maximum rate of investment, that is ROI. Here what happens is, they have risk also. So these things I'll tell you more and more in the upcoming classes. If you have any kind of a doubt, you can just comment us. We'll always be there to tell you. Next one is commercial banks. Now, commercial paper and commercial banks, don't get confused with both the factors. Commercial bank occupies a vital position as they provide funds for different purposes as well as for different time periods, right? That is, you can go with say long term, medium term and short term. Banks extend loan to firm of all sizes. They don't go with whether it is a big company or a small company. They provide loan for all sizes, and in many ways, like cash credit. Now I have told you about the cash credit, overdraft, term loan, purchase, discounting of bills and issues of letter of credit. All these things I have already explained what exactly these things are. Now commercial banks help all the banks, whether the nature and the size, they don't care about it, but they always care about the documents, and that should be legally valid. So these are the things which you are supposed to know. I have covered issue of share, commercial bank, commercial paper. Thank you so much. If you have any doubt, you can just call us. We will be there to answer your all the doubts. I'll see you when I see you.